We spend an awful lot of time teaching kids about stranger danger, and I do touch on that a bit, because it does need to be discussed.
I say, nope, sorry, I don't know you well enough, and you walk away.
But I can tell you, in the 20 years I've been doing this, out of all the disclosures I've ever received from children, there were 2 that children came to me and told me that were stranger danger situations. And I really think I'm remembering them both because they stood out to me at the time, because every other disclosure I have received has been about either a family member or a neighbor or someone who has gained that child's trust through some other means. So we really need to be talking to kids about that, about what do you do if someone you know does something that makes you feel uncomfortable or makes you feel scared or makes you feel confused, whatever the emotion is. If someone's making you feel that way, it doesn't matter whether it's a stranger or whether it's a family member, the rules are the same. It's not okay, and you have the right to be safe, and you have the right to tell a grown-up that you trust and expect that grown-up to help you.
I feel like these programs are really important for kids so that they feel that they are getting the information and the knowledge that they need to protect themselves if they find their boundaries being crossed or they find themselves in a difficult situation. And that way they have words that they can use, like say no or get away, and go tell a grown-up that they trust. And in these programs with Melinda, she specifically talks about real life situations that our kids face. And I feel like the kids really get it. They relate to what she's saying. They relate to the scenarios and they're engaging. The students have the words now that they need to speak up if they need help.
A little boy actually came to me and told me that his friend was being touched this way. I just did a couple of questions to him. He was willing to tell me the child, and it was a little girl in his classroom. So the counselor and I sat down with this little girl and just asked her. We just said, listen, one of your friends is really worried about you and says that you've been telling him that someone's been doing those things to you. And she immediately opened up. I mean, the waterworks started and she just started talking. It was pretty amazing because a lot of times that doesn't happen. A lot of times they'll immediately start denying it, recanting it, saying, oh, no, I never said that. This little girl opened up and I mean, just started talking, and it was awful. It was graphic and it was over the top, and it was terribly upsetting. As bad of a story as it was, I was so grateful that we were there that day. This child did not come forward. Her friend came forward. And we addressed that in the program. We addressed to kids that if you know someone who needs help, you need to go tell somebody, because your friend may be too scared or too embarrassed or too confused. So that is one of the issues that we always address in the program is, hey, here's how you help other kids. And he did, and thank goodness. And I think about that. I mean, anytime I get a disclosure, I think about that. Like, I wonder if we hadn't been there with this program, would that child have ever disclosed? And if so, how many more months or years would have gone by before they finally made that disclosure, if ever? And how much more damage would be done to that child?
These lessons help these students be able to identify a situation that may cross their boundaries or may make them feel unsafe, and then they're able to come and tell an adult that they need help, whether that's a parent or a grandparent or a neighbor, some trusted adult. And so this program really just empowers our children to be able to speak up and to talk about things that are bothering them that feel unsafe.
I always believe that prevention is better than cure. I mean, it's awesome. If you come up with something that cures any given illness, that's an awesome thing. But how much better would it be if you could come up with something to vaccinate and prevent the illness from ever happening? And here's the thing about child abuse. When a child is abused, particularly sexual abuse, you can't take it away. You can't ever put that child back where they would have been if it hadn't happened. I don't care how much help they get. Even, look, and the Victim Center gives awesome help. All of our therapists are highly trained in trauma therapy and do an awesome job. But I'm sure they'd be the first to tell you that you can't make it as though it never happened. That child has been forever altered. When someone has physically or sexually abused a child, they don't get to go back to being who they would have been had it not happened at all. And I get it. A lot of the time when I go into any given classroom, there are children sitting there that it's already happened to. I'm not going to prevent it with those kids. But there are a lot of kids that it will be prevention. You know, they hear this message and they are able to prevent that from ever happening by going and getting an adult, telling an adult that someone's making them scared or uncomfortable or feeling unsafe, whatever it might be. So I really feel like this is a prevention for abuse occurring.
I wish I could tell parents to start talking to your children young about their personal safety. Even toddlers can be taught about personal safety during bath time is a great time. But also as they get older, online safety is also important this day and age. And just being aware and monitoring who your child's talking to, who are they spending time with, where are they after school, and who are their friends. But especially pay attention to the online safety. I think this day and age that's becoming more and more important, and to have that conversation with your child, that they can speak up, that they can tell you that they're struggling or they're scared or something feels unsafe or uncomfortable.
Really the takeaway message that I'm most concerned with is that they tell an adult. You know, teaching a kid to handle it on their own isn't going to work. Teaching them that they can hide from that person or avoid that person or do any other strategy doesn't work. The only thing that works is if they will tell a responsible, trusted adult and then allow that adult to help them. One of the things I cover though in my program with children is that if they do tell an adult and that adult does not believe them or does not get them any help, they need to tell a different grown-up. And I get very clear with how do you know when the problem's been fixed? The problem is fixed when it stops happening. And then we get really clear on who the safe grown-ups are in their lives. Obviously, for most children, if they just tell mom or dad, the problem will get fixed. But for some kids, that doesn't work. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had disclosures where a child tells me that they have told a parent or some other family member, and whoever they told either did not believe them or was motivated to protect the perpetrator, so it tells the child to not share that information with anyone else. So of course in those situations we have to cover that. So I do let kids know that if you've tried telling someone and it just didn't work for some reason, tell somebody else.
When a parent isn't with them hearing this program, they can be ensured that our community is coming into the school and supporting and saying, we as a community support you and we want you to feel safe in our community and have the tools you need. So whether that is to report to a grown-up or tell a teacher or a parent or a coach, anybody, if you're feeling unsafe, that there's a network of adults in our community who love you and care about you and support you in your day-to-day life, wherever you are, whether that's at school or at home.
You know, when you talk to your child, you do let them know this is not something that you need to be afraid of. As long as you know the rules, as long as you know what to do, there's no need to be afraid because you're going to know what to do. And look, it's really rare for a perpetrator to start out crossing the big boundaries. They almost always start with the little ones. So teach your child that. Teach them to always come to you when someone is doing something that makes them feel uncomfortable. Kids have great radar. They usually pick up on it before something criminal ever happens. Most kids get it, that this doesn't feel okay. So if we teach kids to recognize when their boundaries are being crossed, it never has to get scary.
I love this program. It's my favorite because I know it works. I've seen children who've heard the program and then later they remember what was said and then they can come and they can talk to their own parent. I've had those parents call me and say, we need some help, what do we do? Or I've had students come to me personally, and so that's why I love these programs, because it gives children a real life picture of how and when you might need help and how to get the help.
Every time a child discloses, I have mixed feelings. You know, sometimes you just literally feel the oxygen leave the room. It's so hard to listen to. But the thing is that I have to always tell myself, as bad as it is and as sad as you are that children are being abused, you're so glad that they did come forward and tell someone.